There is no such thing as a test run. This is the only planet. This is like the one planet we get. This is
Okay.
it, you all. What's the headline the day we hit 300 parts per million?
We've changed the world.
This is Bite Size Climate Tech, Season 2.
Okay, so now I'm sitting in Hong Kong actually, and this is
Oh,
Tito,
cool.
the CEO of AirMiners, joining us from California.
I'm in South San
And
Francisco.
so
I'll be in Davos
South San
on
Francisco
Saturday.
is just a test run for our first episode of High Size Climate Tech Season
I
2.
want all your
So
listeners to know there is no such thing as a test run. This is the only planet. This is like the one planet we get. This is
okay,
it, you all. It's
there's no
2024.
2024. Let's go. So we wanted to get down to 5 minutes. So Tito is going to talk about one concept in the climate tech world. What do you want to talk about?
That's it. I want to talk about the need for carbon removal and that decarbonization alone isn't enough. We need decarbonization and we need carbon removal to hit our climate goals.
People usually have this question about what's the difference between decarbonization and carbon removal. Because whenever I'm on the ground in Hong Kong, when I talk to people about my passion about carbon removal, they were like, first, is it decarbonization? And also they will be like, oh, are we going to plant trees? We're going to talk to somebody, let's say, who has been working in finance, and you can get down to two sentences. What are you going to tell them?
I'm talking to somebody in finance. I'm on the streets of Hong Kong talking to people
Yes,
who are working in finance, and I've got two sentences.
yes,
Okay, let's do
yes.
this. Um, the climate is changing, and if we had turned down our carbon emissions 20 or 30 years ago, then we would have averted the biggest impacts of climate change, but we didn't. And so now not only do we need to turn down the that we're adding to the atmosphere, we also need to reverse the climate damage that's already been done. And that's where carbon removal comes in. We need to decarbonize and remove carbon dioxide.
Yes, and the need to remove carbon dioxide every year is 10 gigatons. So it wouldn't do it naturally by the nature.
That's right. We add a billion tons of carbon dioxide to the atmosphere every 9 days. Like
It's
we're
crazy.
doing all the fossil fuels and things we use, it adds a billion tons. And so what we need to do is reduce that to near zero. And then we also need to remove the carbon dioxide that we've already put out into the air.
Another question I get is if tomorrow all the fossil fuel companies stop polluting, would that still be a need for us to remove carbon?
The climate models I've looked at say that even if we stopped all emissions tomorrow, there's still so much carbon dioxide in the atmosphere that we need to remove billions of tons of carbon dioxide from the air.
Three sentences. First is if we have already done that 20 years ago, we don't do it, but we didn't. That's why we have to do it. And then even if everything has stopped, we still need to do it for the foreseeable future for us to live in a livable planet because we don't have an extra planet to live on. So that's three sentences for finance professionals. Let's go to a classroom with 8-year-olds. What are you going to tell them? Three sentences.
8-year-olds. Okay. I mean, so I haven't had as much experience talking to 8-year-olds about climate change.
That's the difficult part.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Let's see. Most everything that we do every day, whether we're in a car, on a bus, whether we're eating or playing with toys and stuff, most of that involves adding pollution into the air. And we need to improve the processes. We need to improve so that we don't so much pollution into the air. And we also need to clean up the air. And that's where carbon removal, that's where air miners come in. And you could be an air miner by going to airminers.com. I really want to have a
Okay.
career fair for like removal, right? Like,
Yeah, you
for
should.
like
I think for 8-year-olds, it's kind of difficult for them to put the connection between pollution to carbon removal. Pollution for them, maybe it's like when you don't see the blue sky and things like that. I don't know whether it's helpful or easier to start with a thermostat metaphor. They will feel that it's very hot every day and we need to make them feel cooler. And that's why we can do that by removing carbon dioxide from the atmosphere because carbon dioxide, once it's a lot in the atmosphere, it makes the planet even hotter.
yeah, so talking more about temperature. Okay.
So if I start again, if I go to 8-year-old and would say, how hot do you feel today? And I will be telling them the reason why it's so hot is because it's extra pollution that actually stay in the air, make it even hotter. And what we are trying to do, clean the air at the same time, make it cooler. And it's the coolest thing you can do for your future.
If you're listening to this podcast and you're like, oh my gosh, these people, I have so much better explanations. We need your help. The climate industry, the carbon industry needs the help of people who can really get this message out. So if you're listening to this, I encourage you to reach out to Lydia. The game, it's 2024. You know, we don't get any take backs or any retries. This is it.
This is it. We don't have another planet. You know what? We only spent 6 minutes in this concept.
Okay, we did it.
One last thing I want to ask you is to leave a question for the next guest.
Oh, I get to set the first question. Cool. What would the question be? So for the next guest, and there anybody in climate tech? Or they're in carbon removal?
For people who are in climate tech, but so far, Rory from Hive and also Shil from Mission Zero have said yes, and also Tom from Kita. I also reached out to Luna, but he hasn't replied yet.
You're making it happen.
This part will be cut.
This has got to be in the podcast. I got this good one from a in carbon removal a long time ago. It was, what's the headline the day we hit 300 parts per million?
Oh, wow. We've changed the world.
There you go. That's your answer. We changed the world.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Good seeing you.
Well,
nice
thank
talking
you
to
so
everybody.
much, Tito.
And that was Tito Jankowski, a visionary in the climate tech space and the CEO of AirMiners. Tito co-founded AirMiners in 2017 with Matthew Ashett, creating a dynamic community and accelerator focused on carbon removal. His mission is bold: to remove 1 billion tons of CO2 by 2030. Under his leadership, AirMiners has introduced innovative initiatives like the Kiloton Fund, supporting startups in carbon removal and bridging crucial funding gaps. Tito's approach is not just about advancing technology, but creating a sustainable impact on the environment. For more on Tito's work and AirMiners, visit airminers.com.
Thanks for listening. We'd like to remind our listeners that the views and opinions expressed by our guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official position of iSize Climate Tech. We thank our guests for sharing their insights and experiences, and we thank you, our listeners, for joining us on this journey. Until next time.